So you're thinking about buying a home in Northern Virginia, but with home prices and interest rates on the rise, you're just not quite sure exactly how much it's going to cost you. Well, in this week's video, I'm going to break it all down for you with the real cost of buying a home in Northern Virginia in 2024. So sit back, relax, because we're getting started right now. Boom! Hey everybody, it's David, your favorite realtor, and welcome back to another video. So how much does it cost to buy a home in Northern Virginia? Well, let me share with you the breakdown of what you can expect in this week's video. First, we're gonna look at the average sales price of homes in Northern Virginia, and this number will be our example sales price for this video. Then we're gonna go over expenses that are paid outside of closing. Next, I'm gonna go over down payment options, and I'm gonna go over the two most common loan programs that most buyers use in Northern Virginia. Then you have everybody's favorite expense when it comes to buying a house with closing costs. And I'll give you an estimate of what you can expect your closing costs to be. Next, I'm gonna pull up my fancy mortgage calculator and share with you an example monthly mortgage payment. Then we're gonna find out how much you need to earn to comfortably afford the average sales price home in Northern Virginia. And this number will absolutely shock you, so you don't wanna miss it. Last but definitely not least, we're gonna dive into if you should even consider buying a home in 2024 or waiting. Let's start off with home prices. So what are homes actually selling for in Northern Virginia so far in 2024? So the average sales price of a home in Northern Virginia in the four major counties with Arlington County, Fairfax County, Loudoun County, and Prince William County comes out to $799,000. And to put that number into context, the average sales price of a home in Northern Virginia last year was $744,000. So home prices are up 7.4% compared to this time last year. Now with that being said, you can still buy a great home for well under that average sales price of $799,000. In fact, my personal townhouse style condo in Ashburn is well under that $799,000 number, and I absolutely love my house. So for our example sales price for this video, we'll use $799,000. But to make the math easy, we're just gonna round that number up to $800,000. So what does $800,000 even buy you in Northern Virginia? Well, I'm gonna share with you two examples. We're gonna look at one townhouse and one single family home. So let's start off with a single family home in Springfield that just sold this week for $795,000. This home was built in 1978. It's gonna feature 4 bedrooms, 3 bath, over 2,500 square feet, plus a 2-car garage. Now this is a very solid home overall, but it definitely needs some updates, especially with the kitchen. Now when I think of an $800,000 single family home in Northern Virginia, this is exactly what pops in my head. Next, let's look at a townhouse that just sold earlier this month in Leesburg for $797,000. And this is gonna be a brand new construction townhouse, which features 4 bedrooms, 4 baths, over 2,500 square feet, plus a 2-car garage. And obviously it's new construction, so it's beautifully updated kitchen, nice hardwood floors throughout, recessed lighting. This is an A+ townhouse. This is actually a very good price for a new construction home in Leesburg. So depending on where in Northern Virginia, $800,000 is gonna get you a really nice newer townhouse or a much older, smaller single family home that probably needs some updates. Next, we're gonna go over expenses that are paid outside of closing. Now the majority of your out-of-pocket expenses will be paid at closing. However, there are gonna be a few costs that will be paid before closing day. First, you have your inspections, and there's many different style of inspections that you can get, but I'll go over the two most common inspections that buyers select to do. Now, the first common inspection is gonna be your general home inspection, and that's where you're checking like the roof, the HVAC system, the water heater, the appliances, the foundation, things like that. Then you have your wood destroying insect inspection, and this is checking for like termites and carpenter bees. Now both of these inspections combined comes out to about $700, and you pay that directly to the inspector. Next, you have your appraisal. And an appraisal is going to be a third-party, unbiased professional opinion of the home's value, which is usually required if you're financing a home. So the appraisal you pay directly to your lender, and that usually comes out to about $650. So with your inspections and your appraisal, your expenses paid outside of closing comes out to $1,350. Next, I'm going to go over down payment options, and I'm going to go over the two most common loan programs that most buyers use in Northern Virginia. First, you have the VA loan, And this is gonna be a loan program for active duty service members and veterans. And 3 of the biggest pros to using a VA loan is A, 0 down payment. How cool is that? Secondly, no PMI. That's a huge monthly savings. And last but not least, lower interest rates, especially when you compare it to a conventional loan. So if you're a veteran, it is a no-brainer to use a VA loan. Next, we have the most common loan program out there, and that's gonna be the conventional loan. And down payments for a conventional loan, they're gonna start off at 5% down. That number can go as high as you want as well, but most people using a conventional loan usually put anywhere between 5% down and 20% down. Now, some first-time home buyers can actually qualify for a 3% down conventional loan, but talk to your trusted local lender to see if that's something you qualify for. So for the purposes of this video, we're gonna use a 5% down conventional loan. So 5% down on $800,000 comes out to $40,000, and this you pay at closing. Next, we have everybody's favorite expense with closing costs. So what do closing costs even include? Actually, it's quite a few things. I'll just rattle off a few. So closing costs are gonna include lender fees, owners and lenders title insurance, 6 months of property taxes, 12 months of homeowners insurance, and you know the state and county have to get a taste of the action, so you pay something called a recordation tax, which goes both to the county and the state. Now, there are more items associated with closing costs, but these are the main ones. Now, if you are using a VA loan, you can expect your closing costs to be substantially higher because of the VA funding fee. However, the good news about the VA funding fee, that can be rolled into the mortgage if you don't have the funds to pay for it up front. Now, a good way to estimate your closing cost is use 2.5% of the sales price. Now, it could be a little bit more, it could be a little bit less, but budgeting for 2.5% of the sales price is a great way to go. So with our $800,000 sales price and calculating 2.5% for closing cost, our closing costs are gonna come out to $20,000, which will be paid at closing. Now, just so you know, closing costs are gonna be 100% negotiable between you and the seller. Now, this will be a case-by-case basis, and really depending on who has the leverage in negotiations. Let me share with you an example. Let's say it's the first weekend in the market and the house has 7 offers. Well, the chances you getting closing costs paid for are pretty much 0. However, on the other side, let's say a home's been in the market 45 days and they have no interest. Well, that's a great opportunity right there to get some or even all of your closing costs paid for by the seller. So our total out-of-pocket expenses for buying the average sales price home in Northern Virginia with a 5% down payment plus closing costs and expenses paid outside of closing comes out to $61,350. But that number is only half the battle. Now we gotta look at the monthly mortgage payment. All right, let me jump on this fancy mortgage calculator. So our sales price is gonna be $800,000. Our down payment, we're doing 5% down. Today's rates are right at 7%, so we'll stick with that number. Property taxes, we're gonna use the exact property taxes from that Leesburg townhouse we saw earlier. And the property taxes on that were about $625 a month. Homeowners insurance, I'm gonna leave $75 a month. That's pretty much average for that style of home. PMI, it's gonna be $200 a month. Now PMI, that number could be a lot higher or a lot lower depending on your situation, but credit is a huge factor in how much you pay for PMI. Now, one way to get rid of PMI is to put 20% down. Next, we have HOA fees. That's probably the average I see per month here in Northern Virginia is about $125 a month. Now let's add it all together. Our monthly mortgage payment comes out to $6,081 per month. So let's do a recap of our total out-of-pocket expenses and our monthly mortgage payment. So on our $800,000 home, with closing costs coming out to $20,000 and down payment coming out to $40,000, and expenses paid outside of closing coming out to $1,350. And with today's interest rates of 7%, your total cash out of pocket comes out to $61,350 with a monthly mortgage payment of $6,081 per month. So how much do you need to earn to comfortably afford the average sales price home in Northern Virginia? So most financial experts, they recommend not spending more than 30% of your gross monthly income on housing, and I 1000% agree with this. So let's do the math. $6,000 is gonna be 30% of $20,000, and that'll be your monthly gross income needed. Let's multiply that by 12. You need to have a yearly income of $240,000 per year just to comfortably afford the average sales price home in Northern Virginia. $240,000 a year, that is a lot of money. In this scenario, it would be a lot easier if you're a 2-income household. Now, as I mentioned earlier, yes, the average sales price of a home here in Northern Virginia is $800,000, but there's many great options that are well under that $800,000 price point. Now, with high home prices and high interest rates, should you even consider buying a home in 2024 or just waiting? Now, regardless of market conditions, if you're even considering buying a home, you have to check all 3 of these boxes. Not 2 of the 3 or 1 of the 3, all 3 of these boxes. And the first box is you're in a strong financial position. You can comfortably afford the down payment and you can comfortably afford the monthly mortgage payment. Because the last thing you want to be is house poor. Second box you want to check is you have a strong need and motivation for a house. Let's say you're relocating to Northern Virginia from another part of the country. Well, guess what? You need a house. Or let's say you live in a 2-bedroom apartment and you got a growing family of 5. Well, guess what? You've outgrown that house and you need a much bigger house. And the third box you want to check is you plan to hold this home long term, ideally 7+ years. Because if you can buy a home this year and look to sell next year, between fees and taxes, you're probably going to lose money. But historically, if you hold a home long term, you will win every single time. So yes, if you're even thinking about buying a home, ask yourself if you check all 3 of these boxes. And if you don't, then you should absolutely wait on buying a home. And if you want to talk more about your specific situation or you're relocating to Northern Virginia from another part of the country, reach out to me, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, just know I got your back. And if you want to learn more about living right here in Northern Virginia, check out these videos right here. They're going to be great ways to continue your research. And I'll see you on the next video.